And students of the future. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Molly. Thanks for having me on.
I'm so excited to be chatting about this with you today. The robots return. The Rhode Island Robot Block Party happening this weekend, starting out. It's the 5th annual one from 11 to 4 p.m. Happening this weekend. It's a free event. It's great for everyone to come out and check out so many different kind of robots. Tell us what's happening, Mary.
Certainly. The Robot Block Party is a partnership with the Humanity-Centered Robotics Initiative, which is a group at Brown that does research into robotics, and Rhode Island Students of the Future, which is a group that engages kids in science, technology, engineering, art, and math through robotics. And we get together to host a community event where you can see robots created by very, very little kids who are just getting started in robotics, mostly made out of Lego, all the way up through the research that the faculty is doing at Brown. We have industry like Zebra and Spartel who will be talking about their robots as well. So there will be things to watch, things to do, lots of hands-on stuff for people of all ages. And it's a free, all ages family event at the Pizzatola Center in Providence.
I think this is so cool because not only are we seeing more and more technological advancements happening through robotics, but one of my favorite things to talk about here is STEAM and getting more access to more kids and more adults, frankly, getting more people involved in STEAM programs. And so this is a free opportunity for you to go in and see what's happening not only in our community, but with kids all the way up to modern research that's happening right here. So it's so cool.
Exactly. That is what's cool about it, is that we say that every child who's there can see someone a little bit older than them, so they see the direct pathway all the way through from school all the way through. The Brown Robotics Olympiad has their competition there, so there'll be teams from across the Northeast Coast. They're competing with their robots, so you can see what competitive robots you can get involved in. You can see what research is being done, and we think that for the older faculty and for the professionals of the community, it restores their hope in mankind, because they see that the generation coming up behind them is really indeed smart, creative, and interested in solving the problems of the world with robots and technology.
I think that's a great way to look at it, that not only does it encourage young people coming up, like get them excited, but that restorative factor, I didn't think about that. You know, when you're working around in the lab every day, you can get worn down, but it excites you and invigorates you and reminds you that there's more people coming up and just makes you work a little bit harder.
Exactly.
So
and they're always, the older people are always amazed at how innovative the kids are, that they solve problems in a completely different way. And so it's a very kind of refreshing event for everybody. And we literally will have people who bring their families, from little babies in the packs all the way up to buses from senior centers who will come in and bring people. So it's just great to see, like, engineers who might live in a nursing home where there's not somebody to talk to about their interests, who will just talk about all the things that they interest with somebody else who gets it.
And I love the idea because people solve things or look at things in different ways. And again, one of the things I love talking about is STEAM, not just STEM. We often hear STEM so many times, but adding that A for art in there, STEAM, because people use their brains differently, and so adding that art concept in there as well. Let's talk a little bit about who's involved, who's going to be there, and some of the things that people can see. Because like you said, all ages and all people are welcome because it is a free family event. Because there is a lot of things that you can see here.
There are lots of things. So you can come in and meet, the Sproutella is going to be there with Affleck, their new duck, and Jerry the bear, which are both therapeutic robots that help with kids who are undergoing, and people who are undergoing medical conditions. Brown has been working, the Humanity-Centered Robotics Initiative has been working with Hasbro on a product called Joy for All, which is a cat, and they're adding some sensors to it to make it more responsive. It's used a lot in nursing homes where you can't keep a pet anymore, but you still want the comfort of having a pet, and is used in therapeutic research. But there'll be things like that you can see and touch and do, and there will also be a robot that Stephanie Telex at Brown is doing research with, who is my size, Sawyer, and he is learning how to pick and place things and fold laundry and do all sorts of things that would be available for the home. He's currently primarily used in pick and place, which is packing boxes in a manufacturing setting, and she's starting to do a lot of research to help transition that product into home use.
Wow, that's incredible. So we have the actual robots that you can see, touch, feel, but also, like, let's talk about kids for a minute. kids can actually get in there, get some hands-on experience, and kind of build their own, right? We have a
Yes.
station for that.
Yep, there are all sorts of stations. So there will be everything from the Providence Children's Museum is bringing a product that helps you build contraptions that move. So they will have, which don't necessarily have motors, so they're not considered, or sensors, so they're not considered robots per se, but it all is part of the pipeline that
Yeah.
moves you up in the critical skills. And there will be art bots, which are similar, where you get your creative sense on and you start with a foam cup and a little servo motor and you make a little robot that walks around. The VR people will be there, so you can experience virtual reality. There will be lots and lots of things to do, plus lots of Lego elements, so kids can build their own robots and help learn that way.
So that's one spectrum. Then we have the total other spectrum. A lot of universities getting involved, university teams, people talking about research as well, correct?
Exactly. So there will be some, we say it's not as sedate as a poster session. You would see at a university, the faculties actually and students are very engaged with talking with people about their research, but the Ocean Engineering program from URI is bringing their robots that work underwater. The Wearable Biosensor Lab is coming with they're starting to put sensors and feedback tools into clothing, and that we can monitor your workout, all that kind of thing. And of course, Brown will be there with Baxter and with the turtle robot, I believe, which is actually learning how to navigate around space based on interactions from people. So they will talk about the different forms of research they're doing. RISD is there with their moon buggy. So there are all sorts of different ways to learn about like all the really advanced research that's being done here in Rhode Island that's starting to make New England a hub for robotics.
I think the Turtlebot is really neat.
It
Just
is
being able
cool.
to say Turtlebot.
Right. Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was until you explained it to me, but Turtlebot is just a cool thing to say. The underwater research fascinates me. Obviously, URI has an excellent oceanography program.
Indeed
and
they
so
do.
being able to kind of pick people's brains hands-on, what kind of research is happening here? And someone from, I thought I read someone from Woods Hole is coming in talking about ocean research as well using robotics.
I think that they're actually coming to the Brown Speaker Series that the Humanity Centered Robotics Initiative hosts. So their HCRI is our partner in running the community event.
Okay.
They also host talks that are open to the public during the week, and there's a link to that on our website.
Perfect.
So that people can come, and that's where you actually hear the academics really delve into their research and where the challenges are and where the opportunities are to use the research. But it is everything, they're doing climate change research, all sorts of stuff that they can do with underwater robots.
So what I think is so neat about this is you're really providing access for anyone and everyone if you can get there. Talk to me a little bit about why Rhode Island Students of the Future finds it important to provide access for people and how we can get better at providing access to STEAM.
Certainly. It's important. There is research that shows that, especially with girls and underserved kids, if you can introduce them to science, engineering, technology, and math, but specifically robotics, in the 3rd or 4th grade, you get them excited about it and help them see a path for themselves before the cultural barriers start to break down or start to come up. So kind of before that message that you're not good at math or you're not good enough at math start to be deeply ingrained. And so one of the things about robotics and STEAM in general is it's a really great way to solve community problems, whether that's how older people are going to live independently as our society transitions to be a much older society and there are fewer kids and fewer people available to be caregivers, how we could have our streets be safer, all sorts of things, water quality, I could just go on and on and on. And so Rhode Island Students of the Future is organizes a program called First Lego League, which is a global program, and it has a research project along with a robot competition. So every year there's a theme that gets them to think about, well, how is this technology applied to real world problems? And that's one way to engage kids to, one, understand that there is a future in this and that it has a very practical path forward. It's not just about memorizing math formulas, and it's not just about building robots for cool robot space or on TV, often you see battle bots.
Yeah.
And so they think, well, if they're not involved in battle, then it's not really a robot. And it is. There are lots of peaceful ways to use robots too.
I think that's a great point, is if it's not involved in battle, then what's it good for? So things like the Robot Block Party gives examples, specific examples of how useful robots can be. So we talk about, and the first Lego League is so cool. I mean, and the competition, like you watch the videos on what the competition is, and you're like, what, kids are gonna build these? I don't even know how you made that video. So it's super challenging, and our students today are doing this and thriving at it. But I think that makes you make a really great point on, let's talk about how we can make these robots work for us and make our future better.
Exactly. And to do that, you need a broad diversity of people involved in them. I mean, that's it. In the early days of sensors, which were mostly designed by older white men for other white gamers, you would have games that wouldn't do facial recognition if your skin wasn't white. And that's just, it's not the way of the world now. And so, but you need to be able to consider those kind of problems, and part of that means you need to look outside your own cultural bubble, and by getting more people engaged in being able to solve the problems, we naturally build outside our cultural bubbles.
So let's say we're providing this access. What else can we do here in Rhode Island to make sure that access is easy to get to for people of all diverse levels here in Rhode Island? How else do we expand this? Rhode Island Students of the Future is obviously working hard at this, but what do we do next? We're providing this great event. What comes after this?
We would love to see robotics be part of the curriculum more explicitly. Right now, a lot of the robotics programs are after-school programs, and by definition limited to a certain number of students within the school. So not engaged, doesn't have the funding to be engaged with all of the students in the school. So kind of like the CS for Rhode Island program, which has gotten computer science into the classroom during the school day, we would like to see more robotics used as tools within the school day. In order to let a broader section of kids and schools all over the state really get more involved in it.
How much do you think that this is where jobs are going?
Well, within the next, I want to say 10 to 15 years, as I said earlier, the number of people who are over 65 is going to grow by like 1 million, and there really isn't and the population of our state is changing. So we're going to have to look at different kinds of solutions for the problems of having a mostly retired workforce. One of those ways will be automation in factories. I work for Polaris, which is the manufacturing extension program, and we are always looking for ways to help companies find ways to diversify but also save money. And going forward, seriously looking at automation is going to be an important part. Healthcare is another piece where there may be a need for not robots that are doing primary healthcare certainly, but where you can have augmentation to help offset some of those repetitive jobs that need to be done over and over, but that don't necessarily be done by a human or could be done in tandem with a human.
Well, and that's what's interesting is I was going to let you take that question in whichever direction you wanted to, right? Because people can talk about automation in ways that makes people very nervous, but you can also talk about it in, there's students right now who are developing robots that we don't even know about, that can be the next game changer in the health industry, right? Or certainly in science and technology or engineering. I saw a story where there are people laying bricks in tandem with a robot that was laying bricks. Right. So we don't know what's going to happen in the future, humans and robots working interactively together. So
yeah, no, that's great. And actually at Brown there's research. George Conadaris is working on research where he's building a chip or creating a chip that will make the robots that are automated in factories much smarter, so that right now when you look at the robots that build cars, it's kind of the one robot that does the same thing. It puts on a windshield, and the software or the chip that he's developing will help make the robot be able to locate itself in time and space, which makes it much safer and also able to make decisions much more quickly. So I think that we're on the verge of a real big jump in terms of technology and in terms of knowledge, and that's going to, in a lot of ways, help people's work days be less repetitive but also, like I said, maybe more friendly, and certainly in communities like the medical community, there are all sorts of ways. And another one that always I have heard talks at Brown about is robots that help socialize children who are on the autism spectrum. And it's so heartwarming to watch, because you get, they really open up to something that is responsive to them, where they don't sense that judgment that often comes from an adult who is making a judgment about them. So it is an amazing thing to watch, and it is cool to see robots happening in all sorts of different ways.
And it's only just the beginning, which is so cool. And Rhode Island students of the future help making it happen.
Yes, we certainly do. So we're doing the first Lego League, we do the Robot Block Party. We also offer a professional development course for teachers in the summertime.
Oh, that's neat.
To help get more teachers comfortable, because often that's the thing, is those of us who are a little bit older are not necessarily comfortable with the technology. To get people comfortable with the technology so that they feel comfortable learning alongside their kids as they're implementing this in the classroom.
That's perfect. All right, so the Robot Block Party, Rhode Island Robot Block Party is this Saturday, 11 to 4 o'clock. It's free. It's at the Pizzatola Center, 235 Hope Street in Providence. So head on out. Take your family, take your friends, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Get inspired.
Yes.
Get inspired. So Mary, thanks so much for joining us here on Go Local Live. We're going to get set up here for our next guest, and we're going to not talk about technology. We're going to talk about something totally different, your imagination, which all involves STEAM, right?
Yes, indeed it
Imagination.
does.
So hang tight as we get ready for our next guest.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary. That was great.